Right, so the next thing we have to do is the risk analysis. And what I've done, what I've noticed from training lots of people, lots of businesses, and in project management and working with clients on projects, is they are really not very flash at doing risk analysis. And the reason for that is that they'll quite often think of, the sort of the high level risks, but with risks, it's the bit underneath that is going to bite you. And so what I mean by that is the impacts or the implications. If this happens, that will result in this. And so, what I had to do to force them to do this properly was, again, using a flip chart and using post-it notes. How can I make them do this properly? So what I actually worked out is if I make the risk column really narrow and the implications column really wide, it forces them to think more about the implications than the high-level risk. So again, I'll do the first one for them, and I'll show you what I mean about the implications. So, with your sort of projects, always one of the risks is that you're going to go over budget. So, yeah, whoopee, that's exciting. But what does that mean? Well, it might mean that, so again, I'll do the first one for them. It might mean that you only end up getting half the job done. You had to pull out some of the features that they were thinking they would get because you're now going over budget. And so then, an example was one of the projects I was helping a client with, where they were building this new building, and they were running out of money fast, and it's just about due to shut off. So the only places they could squeeze money out of the thing by that stage were things like the new furniture. And that might not sound like a big deal, but you see, they'd gone and told all the staff that they were getting new furniture, and they'd even had pictures of the new furniture on the walls in the sort of in the tea room and places like that. So they were all excited about new furniture. And to make it worse, what this particular client did was they made sure that the boss and the senior managers got the new furniture, and everyone else didn't. So what you then had, a whole lot of upset staff. They were now really disappointed. They'd been overpromised and underdelivered, and so they were all grumpy. And what then happens is the good staff leave. Anytime you change something in a business, what you hope is that the good ones stay and the bad ones go. Well, if you do it wrong, the bad ones stay and the good ones go. And so then, at the end of all of that, the client's pretty grumpy with you, and they're not going to pay you. They're going to pay you a discount, or they're looking for you to take a cut out of your fee. But see how that then, means that, you can't afford to, keep your mortgage up. So now you're out on the street, and the kids are, they're out on the street, and you have to take them out of private school, and it just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? But back here, the thing was because you went over budget. But it's those implications that will bite you. So again, what I get them to do is do this exercise. And at the end of every time we do one of these group exercises too, we'll get them to rotate around. So they'll do it, and then they rotate around and have a look. And we'll even do it sometimes where we reward them with chocolate. That's always a great motivator. The team that does the most gets more chocolate. Every team gets chocolate, but the team that does the most gets more chocolate. What you'll find with the stakeholder analysis is pretty well the different groups will always pretty well come up with the same thing. But when you get to this one with the risks, they'll come up with entirely different things. And again, how do you prepare for this? You think about the risks before you go in. And the thing is, like me, your projects will all be pretty similar. And so when I'm doing a project, say a procurement project, the first 15 risks are the same every time. And so I have them written down. I have them in my risk register from last time. I just pull that out and I have it down there. So that's my prompter. So I can then again be prompting them, here's the risk. Have you thought about this one? Have you thought about that one? Okay, so what we're going to do next is a little bit of risk analysis. And I've done lots of project management training, lots of real projects. And a lot of the project training I do, you normally get someone who's been on some course and they're a guru, so they think. This is where I find out whether they are or not. Because what most people look at is an initial risk, but they don't really take that much further. So when you run this project, what would be a risk? So I'll show you. So what I've had to do to get people to think about that is, what's a risk in a project? You tell me what's a risk in a project. This one.
Overspending.
Overspend. So we go over budget. Okay, so you're the architectural consultants, and this project went over budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get a bit of pen on that one. So what's the impact of that?
It doesn't get finished.
Okay, so one option is it doesn't get finished, not finished.
You end up doing a lot more time to try and pull it back on
Rescue
budget.
it.
You
Yep.
redraw for nothing.
So you do work for nothing?
Rescue.
The quality can drop substantially to
Yep.
fit the budget that's available.
Client's not happy.
Usually requires refinancing somewhere along the line.
You guys are good at this. You've obviously had this happen. I think I've hit a real nerve. Refinance.
Design compromise.
Yeah. Do you remember that ad that used to be on TV, Half a Pyramid? It was an insurance ad. You know, you could get replacement or you could get the dollar value that you'd insured the house for, and the pyramid gets knocked down and they go and rebuild it, and they only ended up with half a pyramid. Right? So you go and drop the spec. So if you drop the spec on a project, how does the client feel about that?
Disillusioned.
Yes, unhappy. They thought they were getting a really bells and whistles, and now they're getting a bill. It's just not the same, is it? You've set the expectation, so you've overpromised and underdelivered. So if you've got an unhappy client, what do?
Tell other people.
Yeah, it's great sort of marketing, isn't it? Very effective marketing. They'll go and tell everyone. So you can see how that, going over budget, if you're in a corporate like you guys are in this scenario, what else is going to happen? You went over budget on this project. Dion?
You got the board.
Lose our job.
Well, yeah, you could lose your job. Okay, if you lose your job, then you can't pay the mortgage, then your kids are out on the street, you know, and your wife leaves you, and it's just getting, well, it might be a bad thing, but
You have to take on a job where you're not allowed to wear a beanie.
yeah, exactly. Oh, hell.
Oh no.
But not only that, say you didn't even get the sack. So then you go to do another project. We're going to get another building. And here's the budget for it. And the board go, Dion, it's you again. You know, the last 4 projects you've done, you've gone over budget. We don't believe you anymore. So no is the answer. So it starts restricting life on you. All right, so I've done one for, I should have done it for the other group first this time. So back to your things. I want to see you whip down there and put some risks in, and then whip out there and put the implications in.
Not compliant.
Fast game's a good game. Just swap and go and have a look and see what the other guys had. So how was that?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
So again, what do we do? Same thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On your feet, up there. I did the first one. Because in risk analysis, it's the implications bit that most people miss. But it's the implications bit that'll bite you on the backside. You know, going over time or over budget doesn't sound very daunting on its own, but when you start looking at the impacts of that, that's the bit that gets people's attention. So, with the risk analysis, that's a starter for 10, but it's not the whole job. Right? It's a start. But what
There will be more.
there will be more. Yeah. And what you quite often get in the risk analysis is 2 totally different things. Whereas in the stakeholder analysis, you largely had pretty much the same. You know, you look around at them and they're pretty much the same.